Can you hear me? Oh, I can hear me. That's better. How's everybody doing? I'm between you and guys and the road, right? All right. So hopefully I don't put you guys to sleep, right? Empowering Department of Navy with Zero Trust and Cyber Readiness. My name is Lowkie. I work with the Don CIO and the Don CISO office on Zero Trust. I'm the assistant lead for Zero Trust, and Dave Volker in the back is the lead for Zero Trust. I was about to say next slide. I have it. This is the agenda for today. The topics that I'll be going over. Everybody is familiar with the DoD RMF process. We prepare, we categorize, we select, we implement, we assess, we authorize, and then we monitor. So what's the difference between Zero Trust and RMF? Who knows, right? So then you have cyber readiness. How many of you heard of cyber ready? All right, somebody's heard of it, right? So being cyber ready means that you're consistently ready. That means your cyber hygiene is kept up to date on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis. If you're not cyber ready, then all you're doing is checking the box doing your ASR at the end of the year. That's not cyber ready. What is Zero Trust? I'm so glad you asked. Look at that. Zero Trust is assuming that nothing in there is going to be safe, right? You have your enemy within, and they're going to try to compromise your data as much as possible. But if you have Zero Trust in place, you don't trust them, trust no one, you don't even trust the person next to you, right? And so you want to keep everything safe, you want to keep it locked down, you want to make sure that people who need access have access when they need it and only when they need it. The Zero Trust PFMO at the DoD level gave us different courses of action. We have COA 1, which is brownfield. Brownfield is what a lot of your legacy systems, your tactical systems, a lot of them are trying to utilize what they have and try to modernize it. When you're looking at your enterprise systems, we're looking at more of the cloud service providers. And then for COA 3, you're looking at private cloud. It's comparable to what the ships use for like receiving information, everything for the ships. A lot of it is kept on the shipboards or is retrieved through SATCOM. So I don't know how many in the cyber world have seen this fabulous chart. It has all the pillars for Zero Trust. If you notice, you have 3 pillars on the left, 3 pillars on the right, and then you have 1 pillar in the middle. That's your data pillar. Instead of protecting things like equipment and protecting the perimeter, now we're looking at actually protecting the data, protecting the assets, the things that mean most to us. It's almost like, I know probably everybody in here have seen Troy, where they got into the horse and they went in and the whole city was compromised because all the doors were open, right? Except for the perimeter. They got in through the perimeter and they had access to everything. Well, now with Zero Trust, you come in and all the doors will be locked. And so you won't have access to everything. These are the Zero Trust capabilities. It's a very small chart. I know everybody's eyes are like, what is on there? But you can find this chart online as well. Within each one of these capabilities, wait for it, is the fan chart. This is a chart that everyone loves, right? This fan chart has all the activities that reside within these capabilities. These activities, we have 91 target level activities, and then the rest are advanced level activities. By FY 2027, we are supposed to have the 91 Zero Trust activities completed in all of DoD. Can we do it? Say yes, 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 yes. All right. So then you say, well, what does that mean to me when it comes to cybersecurity, right? How does this affect me? The good thing about it is, as cybersecurity personnel, ISMs, ISOs, not so much the ISSI has a lot more work. But when it comes to the ISOs and the ISSIs, you have to do all of your cybersecurity controls, right? Well, now you have zero trust controls that are being added on. They should be added into EMAS with the Rev 5 of the NIST. So when they add Rev 5, they should be adding zero trust controls to EMAS as well. It's already been added to Diprodon, so if any of you manage your Diprodon record for your system, you'll see an added field in there for zero trust. We're also looking at trying to implement it and put it inside the RPG so that the word is being spread that, hey, it is affecting us in the cybersecurity community. When it comes to the ISSI's job is to make sure that the engineers are actually engineering into the system those activities on this fan chart. So as an ISSI, your work is a little bit, more complicated. But from an ISM and ISO standpoint, it's the controls. You want to make sure the controls are built in. And then if you're included in the beginning of the process, of which you should be, then you can help your system with determining which hardware, which software that they can include, which ones have zero trust built into it. Zero trust is mainly about like automating a lot of your security features into your system. And so you can help them in that selection process. And then if you want to do the zero trust activities embedded inside of the cybersecurity process, when you're doing the prepare section of what is now an RMF, we're calling it cyber ready because, every now and again, DOD likes to change the name. We went from DITSCAP to DICAP to RMF. So in Navy, we call it cyber ready. So in that process, when you're preparing it, these are the different items that you can look at to actually help with zero trust being built into the system. And then when you go to categorize the system, you're also looking at how does it affect the zero trust activities, which zero trust activities are actually going to be applicable to your system, because they're 91 target level, but you may have a system where all 91 are not applicable. It may be only 90, or it may be only 85. But you have to actually assess the system to see which ones are applicable and which ones are not. And then this is where you actually select your controls. You're going to find that it's not as overwhelming as you may have thought it was going to be, because some of the controls you're already doing, like AC 2.0, you may have already have it built into your system. So it's not going to be an added control. It's just now it's also zero trust as well as whatever you added it for. And then you get to your implement stage. So that's where you're implementing your SOAR, you're implementing your DRM, you're doing the part where your ISSI should be working with your engineers to make sure that they're implementing what they need to, the proper tools and the proper hardware that's required for zero trust. Because the last thing you want is to buy a hardware that has something from another country that shouldn't be in there, and then it defeats the whole purpose. Because if you don't have zero trust within your hardware, then it just all goes to shambles. Can't protect it. So for your assessment piece, we already do the assessment with your Navy validator, with your SCA. We do that type of assessment. But now you also have to do your zero trust assessment. You have to do your purple team, your red team. So those things come into play when you're talking about zero trust. You want to do your pen testing. And so that's how you know if zero trust is actually being implemented into your system. We currently have the Zero Trust Implementation Plan 2.0, which is out. It's on the Don CIO website. It supersedes the Don Zero Trust Implementation Plan 1.0. Waivers are not accepted. We are not taking any waivers for Zero Trust. And you say, but I don't have a budget. Well, if you didn't palm it in, you have staff that can actually help with implementing some of your Zero Trust activities. If you find that some of your Zero Trust activities cannot be done because you don't have the budget to implement it, you can create a poem. Inside that poem, it'll have the activity, it'll have what you tried, what didn't work, and what you need in order to implement that activity. So we don't want people to say, Zero Trust, we just don't have the money to do it. That's what we tried when cybersecurity came along, right? It's like, I don't have anything to do RMF. I don't have a cybersecurity person. We can't do that. And then eventually you had your cybersecurity personnel, you were able to implement into your system, and you had to go backwards, right? Well, now if you start implementing Zero Trust into your system, when you start, you don't have to do backwards compatibility. The blueprint, Dave Volker spoke on it earlier. It's going to be released sometime in like March or April, sometime in the spring, we're hoping. It's currently under review. If you would like a courtesy copy of one to try to help with that review, you can ask one of us for it, and we'll provide you with it with a sheet where you can give your feedback. And if it's something that we can change in there to make your life a lot easier, we're here to help. We have the major design concepts, and we also have the strategic implementation guide. It's on the Don CIO website as well. We created an internal communication plan so that we can try to spread the word about Zero Trust, because we have some people who believe that it's not required right now because there's no penalty as of right now. But just because there's no penalty today doesn't mean that there won't be a penalty tomorrow. And then you'll be saying, well, I guess I should have listened back then. Because no waivers are being granted. We have been told no waivers. So we have phases that we have broke out Zero Trust to try to make it easy for the Navy to implement. We have phase 1, which should be completed by the end of this year. If you have not started doing Zero Trust, you might want to start because you only have some little couple months left. September 30th is the end of the fiscal year. And then for phase 2, that's due by FY 2027. FY 2027 is when all of target level is due. So target level ZT activities should be completed by FY 2027, by the end of it. And then phase 3, FY 2029, that's for all the activities that couldn't be completed up to 27. And then there's also phase 4. I didn't see phase 4. There's a phase 4, which is for advanced level activities. So the draft blueprint, it's mainly for, so the implementation plan, it was designed more for your project managers and your business financial managers so that they'll know how to allocate the money and how to govern the program itself. The blueprint is geared more towards the cybersecurity workforce and the engineers who are actually implementing Zero Trust into the system. This is a breakdown of what's inside of phase 1, your requirements analysis, your architectural design, and your design approach. And all of that's in phase 1, which is due by when? Somebody said next week. It's due by the end of this fiscal year. So these are all the items that we want to have done by the end of this fiscal year. And in phase 2, When is phase 2 due by? Huh? No, phase 2 is 26. Yes, 26 is phase 2. You don't get 2 years for this. You only get one. ZT ICAM, your naval networks, continuous monitoring.
Your slide says complete by FY 2027. Yep. So either the slide's wrong and we were right, or
Where you sit at it?
go back to your non-ZT documentation, key concepts and phases. Can't get us in trouble for some.
Let's go back, let's see. Oh, it is. You're right. See, you were paying attention. Okay, you get 2 years. We know who was paying attention in school, huh?
That's right, I got whacked on the head. So which one's correct?
It is 2027. It is 2027. Yeah, it's on here as well. By the time you're done with phase 2, you should be done with all of your zero trust target activities. And then phase 3, which is doing FY 29, is the remaining, anything that you have lingering that you couldn't complete up to 27 is what you complete up to 29. And then phase 4 is your advanced zero trust. And these are the point of contacts. You have Dave Volker, who's a ZT lead out of the CISO office. You have myself, I work with Dave. And then we have Doug, he works with us along with the CISO. And then you have Chris Finnick, he's over Navy. We're at Department of Navy, and then Chris is with Navy specific, and Captain Slaughter is Marine Corps specific. Do we have any questions? If you can come to the mic.
Hi, I'm Keith Potter, Navy Region Northwest CNIC. This whole week has been about AI automation and reporting. Is there a plan objective to do a portal within the non-CIO realm to consolidate VRAM, EMAS, CMRS, and all the other reporting tools that we do that can give us a zero trust status dashboard that we can brief to the CO levels and higher. This is where we're at, and this is what we're working on based on our existing POEM architectures and submitted ATOs for our various solutions.
Currently, we have the zero trust metric system, which is not integrated into all those other tools. And I know you're like, you're giving me another tool to report in. We're working on trying to consolidate some of the efforts, but of course, you know, it takes time because it's not like we own everything. So we're getting into EMAS through Rev 5, and that's how we're getting into EMAS. But the metrics tool is something that we control. And then you have DIPRDON, which is controlled by DOD. And then you have VRAM, which is controlled with another team within the Navy. So it's a matter of getting all the right people in the right room to try to consolidate the efforts, or at least have them speak to each other. So like how DIPRDON speaks to EMAS and EMAS speaks to DIPRDON, and you can update your ATO information and it hits both entities at the same time. We're trying to get something like that going, but it's going to take time. That was the only question? That's it?
All right, so the current process is increasing labor and workforce to have yet another tool, to provide yet another report, to yet another system. And that's why I'm asking. If all of this data is already out and available in either the NAO or the FAO's repositories of systems, it shouldn't be too hard to get a connector or somebody to take ownership. If zero trust is the thou shall, and that is the end state goal, it would, in my mind, it would give more credence to the people who are doing the effort to make the implementation happen, to be able to see where the end state is or where the conceptual goal marker is of where I'm at now. So that way we aren't going, did you do this last week or should I be doing this next week? It allows us to prioritize and allows us to get the commanding officer's backing to understand where his money needs to go. That's where I was going with that thought.
Well, the metrics tool is owned by DOD. So it's not Department of Navy. A lot of the tools that we use within the Department of Navy is Department of Navy, but the metrics tool is Department of Defense. So we're working on trying to make it a lot smoother, but we're working with what we have right now. So I said you be patient with us. You know. If you guys need any help with moving forward with Zero Trust, you have Dave and I, and we'll be more than happy to work you guys through it. So.
Meg Reed from NSWC Crane. I'm lead ISSO there. This is a question that I asked yesterday to another presenter. But how have the talks or discussions been made on how we do RMF and ATO processes and ASR processes now? How those are going to change and how those are going to look as we move closer to the target level and then advanced level Zero Trust, and are we moving towards closer to that CATO that has been like this goal that just keeps getting pushed to the right further and further? And is that guidance going to be pushed down to the commands anytime soon?
Okay, so far as the RMF with Zero Trust, right now we're trying to get them intertwined. And first step is getting the controls into EMAS.
Sure.
So hopefully that'll come soon. I'll be talking to the EMAS guy pretty soon so that I can find out a date of when they're going to implement Rev 5. So NIST Rev 5 is supposed to be going in there at the same time as Zero Trust. And then the next RPG should have Zero Trust in there. So it's baby steps, but it's a step in the right direction. When it comes to CATOs, that is slowly coming. I know the FAO kind of have a process like that. And it's where as long as you do your ASRs every year, then, you know, when it comes time for your ATO, they'll just look at the controls that are for that year, and then they'll just keep rolling your ATO. So it's almost like a CATO. The NAO is not quite there yet, but as we continue down with the road with Zero Trust and with RMF moving in the right direction, then we should see the CATO come.
We could, so is it going to be closer to, so with the Zero Trust, right, there's a focus on automation and AI and ML and thresholds, right? This is all automatic. The way it's going to, the way I see it possibly moving forward would be us no longer having to manually enter things into EMAS and some of that stuff already being rolled up on a daily, hourly, weekly, whatever basis automatically, right? Instead of doing a snapshot and that just sitting there for like 6 months until the ASR or ATO goes through, right? And so it's almost going to be like a daily thing. Is that kind of what we're hopefully working towards?
I'm hoping for that.
Okay. Sure.
I was once in your shoes. I was at ISM, I was at ISSO, a ISSI, a CA, you name it. I've worked in the cyber community for a while. So I completely understand your frustrations. You know, I've definitely been there. And when Zero Trust came out and I first heard of it from Drew, I said, we're adding something else for the cyber community to have to handle. What are you talking about? I said, and it's not a part of RMF? How are we going to be convinced to do this stuff? So now we're trying to tie everything together so that it's not as cumbersome as it is today. We ask that you be patient because the time is coming where we're going to try to, make them coexist and be fed into each other. So it won't be as hard on you as it is today. So. Any other questions?
You said you're adding RMF to the EMAS. Is that going to be in the form of an overlay? Is it going to be?
Zero Trust does have an overlay.
Okay, so is that, then that overlay would be mandated on every package?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The overlay already exists. It's just not in EMAS yet. You can find the overlay on the DoD website. It does exist already. It's just you have to manually add those controls. If you already don't have those controls added to your system, you have to manually add it in EMAS. If you want to add them today to EMAS, yes. All right, thank you guys.